People take a lot of photos, and sometimes you don't have any way to share it with your family without just sending it to them. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a stylized image gallery that uses Cloudinary, DaisyUI, and Tailwind to allow people to browse through all the images you've uploaded. In a future video, I'm going to show you how you can upload directly from your application, allowing you to easily share more images. If you're wondering what it looks like, here is a demo reel of the application. So now you've seen what the awesome application is going to look like, let's start coding the application. But before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to Dev Sharma for being the first person to comment on the last video. If you want to get a shout out in the video, make sure you drop a comment so that I know that you're interested in what I'm producing. Of course, if you do like this video, make sure to drop it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about web development, Jamstack, and also building and running SaaSes. So let's get started by building out our image gallery. One of the first things we need to do is create our application. And what's nice about using NextJS and Tailwind is that we can actually have Tailwind set up when we create using create next app. So to do that, you can do npx create next app -e with Tailwind CSS, and then give the project a name. So we're going to call this our Cloudinary image gallery. And once that's all done, I will meet you in Visual Studio Code where we can start talking about how we're going to set this up and how we're going to use DaisyUI to drive our image gallery. So here we are in our Tailwind NextJS project. And as you can see, we have our Tailwind config file and our pages in the index are driven by Tailwind itself. So the first thing you need to do is actually set up and install DaisyUI. And the way to do that is to do yarn add DaisyUI, and that will install it from npm, and then we can configure it in our Tailwind config. So once this is installed, I'll meet you back here and we can talk about how that works. So now that DaisyUI is installed, we actually need to configure our plugin here to use DaisyUI. So inside of your Tailwind config.js, you're going to go ahead and type the word require, and then inside a set of quotes, you can just type the word DaisyUI and hit save. And what it will do is it will look for the npm package named DaisyUI, and as you can see, that exists in our node modules, and now we'll be able to use that. So now we have Tailwind set up, we also have DaisyUI installed. We now need to actually start working on our index.js, and that will be where we handle all of our images and everything to do with our gallery. Inside of our index.js, we're going to remove everything that's inside of our main, and we're going to create our own. I've changed the title here just to gallery app, and we can use that to drive our titles. So let's go ahead and remove everything that's in the main. And we can also get rid of this footer as we won't be needing it. And now we have a nice blank slate to start using our images and also Tailwind CSS and Daisy. So the biggest driver here is actually the information from Cloudinary. Without that, we can't actually create a carousel. So let's start by creating a get static props. So we can do export async function get static props. And then we need to actually install the Cloudinary SDK that we're going to use. And that's going to just be yarn add Cloudinary. So we go to our terminal and do yarn add Cloudinary. And that'll install the Cloudinary node package that we need, that we can use with Next.js. And we can use that to drive this get static props. So first we need to do a Cloudinary is equal to require Cloudinary .v2. And then this will give us access to everything that we need for Cloudinary. So with Cloudinary, the way that this works is we need to essentially create a new Cloudinary config that handles everything from Cloudinary. And then we're going to ask for the resources from a specific folder from a type of upload, which type of upload means that's what's going to be uploaded either via their Cloudinary UI or in the future from the API that we create in the next video. And we're also going to set things like max results and things like that so that we can keep our load down. So let's first investigate Cloudinary. So let's navigate to the Cloudinary's website and we can talk about all the pieces that we're going to need to make this work. So I've logged it in and I have all of these Christmassy images uploaded to my Cloudinary instance. So you can see that they're inside this image gallery folder, and this is what we're going to be retrieving and in the next video uploading to. And the important pieces that we actually need come from this dashboard section. So if you select dashboard, you can see that you have a cloud name, an API key, and an API secret. And we're going to need all three of those to be placed inside a .m file. So I'm going to flip back to the code and show you the .m file and what it looks like. And then we can talk about how we're going to use those to instantiate and start using our configuration. So inside the .env.local, we have a Cloudinary cloud name, API key, and API secret. And you should fill all three of these in with the information from your dashboard. So now we have Cloudinary installed and we're using it at the top here. We can now start running our configuration here to make this work. So to begin with, you're going to call Cloudinary, right? Cloudinary.config, and then inside of here is where we're going to set our cloud name, API key, and API secret. And to do that, you do cloud_name, and then process.env.cloudinary_cloud_name. Then API_key, and set that to process.env Cloudinary _API_key, and then finally API_secret, which will handle our API secret, which is .cloudinary_API_secret. So at that point, we can now use the Cloudinary API to retrieve or use any data. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create something called resources. So we can do resources is equal to await cloudinary.api.resources. Now resources allows you to essentially retrieve any resources from your Cloudinary instance. So we're going to be looking for a specific type here called upload, and those are any uploaded media of any type. So that could be images, that could be GIFs, that could be videos, that could be any of that kind of stuff. Then we're going to set a prefix here. Now what the prefix is a folder within your Cloudinary instance. So if you're not using folders, you don't need this. And your folder will need to be named what you named it in your Cloudinary instance. So in my version, it was image gallery. And then finally, we need max results. So max_results, and I'll set this to 100. Then inside of our return statement here, we can just return our resources and hit save, and then go up to our home here and say resources. And then finally, we can just console log resources as we haven't built the UI out yet and hit save. What should happen now is you'll be able to see in our console.log the resources available. So I'm going to go ahead and launch it by running yarn dev, and I'll meet you in the console logger to make sure what we did works correctly. Okay, so I've launched up into the application and I'm now looking at an array of assets, and you can see there's all sorts of things in here like the format, what the image is, the secure URL, the types, etc., widths, heights, and all the sorts of things you might need to drive your image gallery. So now we can go back to our application and start creating our image gallery at the same time and see what we can create. So we're now in the code and I've split this 50-50 so we can see as we build. So let's go ahead and start by creating a new div here. And inside of this div is where we're going to do most of our work. Now we're going to use class name. And this is what's going to drive the carousel. So we're going to add padding of 4 and space x of 4. We're going to use something called a carousel, which is from DaisyUI versus having to hand type out our carousel. We're going to set the carousel to the center. We're going to set the background to neutral. We're going to have a nice rounded box, and we'll set a margin of 4 on the top. If we hit save, you'll see that there's just this little circle right now, but as we go along, we'll make more and more changes depending on what we need. So now that we have that, what we need to do now is actually use these resources in our application. So we can do resources.map and then resources, comma, index, because we're actually going to need the index to give our keys. And we can say return and then a div key equal to carousel dash, and then we'll do $index. And then we'll give this a class equal to the carousel, so carousel item. And then inside of this div is where we're going to do the rest of our work. So let's just close this div out. And right now, if we hit save, you'll see that this gets slightly longer, but there's nothing inside of it yet because we need to actually have the carousel items. So now we have that, we need to actually import next image because we're going to be using next image for optimization. So we can say import image from next/image. And we can use that to drive the images here. So we can now set an image. So we'll say image and then source equal to resource.url. We need an alt equal to resource.public_ID. We'll set the width equal to 852 and the height to 480 to give us a nice small image to be able to play around with. And then class equal to rounded dash box. Now when we hit save, the application is going to break immediately because we don't have this URL for next image, but that is okay. And then we can see what happens after the fact once we fix that. So let's go ahead and hit save. So we've hit save and we've hit this error here, and that's because this should be resource. So go ahead and change that to resource and hit save. And now you're getting this invalid source props, and it says hostname res.cloudinary.com is not configured under images in your nextconfig.js. See more here. And we can fix that by going here and creating a new file called nextconfig.js. And inside of that, we can create a module.exports equal to images. And then inside of here, we set our domains. So we can say res.cloudinary.com. And then we put a couple of commas here, hit save, and you'll notice that this is still not fixed. And that's because we need to restart the server. So go ahead and restart the server, and you should see a completely different application. So I've restarted the server after adding res.cloudinary.com, and now you can see that we have like a gallery here that contains all of our different images, and we can scroll through them using the keyboard, and it looks pretty good. Next, we need to have some sort of menu so that when we create the next part of our application, we can have a nice looking navbar that has a home and an upload button so that we can either upload a new image or have some sort of new homepage that comes here, and so that you can see the images that somebody's uploaded. So let's create a new folder here called components. So we can just call it components. And inside of here, we'll create a new file called navbar. .jsx, and then we can create a const called navbar equal to and then we'll just export default navbar. So we're going to export this out so we can use this component somewhere else, and we'll do a return statement, and for now we'll just return a div, and we'll hit save. So now we have that, we can actually import this navbar into our index here. So to do that, you can just do import navbar. So we can do import navbar equal to from / components / navbar. And then we can import that right above our main here. So we can just say navbar and hit save. And you notice that nothing really changed and we can't see anything, but now we can start building this out and hit save as we go along. So now we need to create this navbar to essentially hold in the name of the application and also the home button and of course the upload button when that comes in the next video. So we can do class name here. We're going to set this equal to navbar. We're going to put a margin at the bottom of 2. Shadow we can set to LG. BG equal to neutral. And text neutral. Content. And rounded box. If I hit save here. So now we have this little neutral style box. We need to build out the next section, which would be our div to hold our image gallery. So we can do that by doing div class name equal to px-2 mx-2 navbar start. And then inside of that, we need a span. And we can say span class name equal to text LG font bold. And then inside of that span, we can give it a name. So we can say image gallery and hit save. And now we have this sort of image gallery word, but nothing else. So now we need to, underneath our div here, create a div to hold the buttons that we are going to use in the future, which are going to allow us to navigate. You can create another class name here, say hidden, px-2, mx-2, navbar-center, LG flex, and then hit save. And you'll see that this got slightly bigger here. And then we can do div class name equal to flex items stretch, because we want to stretch them across the screen. And then we'll create an A here with a class name equal to button ghost, button small, and a rounded button. And then we can say home and hit save. And now we have a home button over here that you can kind of click. And then if we copy and paste this A again, and this time we'll say upload and hit save. And now we have our home and upload image gallery. So when we fully expand it out, we have this looking pretty nice, except from the colors don't really match. So first of all, I built this with dark mode in mind. So if we go ahead and just change on my machine, if we say color settings, and I change this to dark mode, you see that the gallery actually looks super nice. It has like this nice shadowed effect, and then we have all of our different images. And so what we can do is actually set the theme to automatically be dark, so that it's always dark regardless to if someone has it in light mode or not. And so the way that this works is DaisyUI has these themes, and I'll show you how to implement that on the page. So to fix the always be in dark mode, what we can actually do is come to the Tailwind config here, and we can write a new piece here to handle overriding it with DaisyUI. So DaisyUI adds a data piece to the local storage, which tells the browser what kind of theme to use, as they have so many themes to choose from. So what we can do is say DaisyUI, then theme, and then in an array we can set the theme. So we can say dark and hit save. And you can see over here that now it's in dark mode. Everything works the same, but you can also change this. So like cupcake is one. You can see that now everything's purple with cupcake, or we can do synth wave. And now everything's purple in the back and purple all the way through. Or we could just set this to dark, which is how I built it. So we can just type dark. And if you want a variety of themes, you can actually do that by doing emerald, or, you know, cupcake here, and then comma, and then something else, comma, etc. And what will happen is this first one will be the one that's by default, and then you can add options to have these ones as selectables in your application if you so wish. So I really hope you enjoyed building this gallery app using Cloudinary and DaisyUI, and you can see how flexible DaisyUI is, allowing us to build a nice carousel that can be controlled by the keyboard, as well as a little Navbar that we can use for our future video. Now for the future video next week, we're going to show you how you can upload images to Cloudinary via their API, and then I'm going to show you how you can rebuild your site at the same time, giving you the ability to see a seamless change as you upload them. Now if you did enjoy this video, make sure to drop it a like, leave a comment. The first comment gets noticed on the channel and will be posted in the next video. And until next time, see ya.